It is a beautiful autumn day in South Africa. The sky is blue. We're out at my family farm. We've got the dam at the back down there. We've got open space all around us, and we have a lot of guns to look at today. And we're going to be doing something quite special with them. As you can see here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different guns, and they're all in the same caliber. They are all 22 caliber guns, ranging from 12 foot-pound or sub 12 foot-pound gun all the way up to an 80 foot-pound 22 caliber air gun, and then a little surprise at the end, which I won't ruin it for you. You'll have to just watch the whole video. But yeah, that's going to be interesting. What we're going to do with these guns is we're actually going to be putting some blocks of clay out on that table back there at about 20 yards. I'm going to be shooting from my truck, back of my truck over here, and we're going to be comparing the terminal performance of these projectiles shot at different speeds. So we're going to be shooting starting from the least powerful gun, and we're going to be kind of rating the terminal performance of each of the projectiles we're shooting at the different powers, and speaking about, you know, the effectiveness in terms of hunting performance of each of these projectiles out of each of these guns. I think the point of this is not just to be an entertaining video, but also to be an educational video, because I do want to show you that these can potentially kill you. Even the least powerful of the guns I have here can kill a person. But anyway, enough of the serious stuff. Let's get to it and let's have some fun. It's probably clear by now that I'm not some kind of ballistician who's going to give you an answer of, you know, how much flesh can this pellet penetrate and all that stuff. This is purely to compare within what we have here. So this data is not going to be translatable to animal tissue or human tissue, but it is going to kind of give an idea in comparison between the different muzzle energies and the different shapes of the projectiles and all of that as to what they can do. Right, our first gun is a Springer, and this is a big deal because I don't often shoot Springers on my channel. This is an Arms TX200 Hunter carbine, probably one of the best Springers you can get. This thing is awesome, extremely well built and extremely accurate for a Springer. This gun is shooting 14.35 grain JSB Jumbo Express Diablo 22 caliber pellets at around, I believe it's 600 feet per second. So that's 11.5 foot-pounds of energy. Not much, but that's our bottom end. So that's where we're going to be starting, and let's see what this baby can do. Let's see what this can do. 11.5 foot-pounds. I hope this gun's set in because I haven't shot with it in a very long time. Yep, good shot. Let's go check it out. Moment of truth. Let's see if this clay is doing what it's supposed to do. I'm basically just going to take a piece of fishing gut here and try to cut through the block of clay like this. Looks like it's working quite well. Right, so there you go. That's pretty much what I expected to see. Pellet traveled from, well, there you go, from my thumb to my pinky, and maximum point of expansion was around over there. So it's not that deep, about an inch in, but for small game hunting that is pretty much perfect. And there we have our pellet right over there. We'll take these out at the end and compare all of them, but as you can see there, it did not expand at all, and that's pretty much what you can expect from a Diablo shaped pellet with no hollow point. They're going to retain their shape pretty well. Our next gun is the FX Streamline. Really popular little gun. In fact, I love this little gun. Again, the only reason why I haven't really used a lot of these other guns you're going to see is because I have an FX Impact, which is like the ultimate PCP. So forgive me if you don't see these often, but this is a really awesome gun. Bang for the buck, probably one of the best PCPs out there. And I've actually turned this one down. It's set to about 30 foot-pounds. I've turned it down to power 2, which just happens to be 17 foot-pounds. And I'm going to be shooting the JSB Exact Jumbo pellets, which are, let's try to get this in focus here. Okay, it wants to focus on my face. Anyway, these are 15.89 grains going at 700 feet per second, so that is 17 foot-pounds. So somewhere in between the 12 foot-pound gun and the next gun you're going to see. But let's see what 17 foot-pounds does to the clay. Pretty straightforward, no funny brake barrel action. We just cock it onto the PCPs now, next level up, and pretty straightforward in the block. There you go. And you can hear how quiet that was. This is probably the quietest gun I have, actually. Anyway, let's go see what it did. So if you remember, the previous gun was 12 foot-pounds and the penetration was about that much from where my thumb is to my pinky. This one probably went an extra few inches there. Pellet veered off a little bit, but we found it over there and we're going to show you that at the end. But yeah, overall penetration quite a bit extra, and you can see the expansion point here. It's widened a little bit more than the 12 foot-pound pellet did. So that's what you'd expect to see. Okay, we are up to 28 foot-pounds now, so that's the next step, and we have the good old Daystate Wolverine. Again, if you've been watching my channel for a long time, you will know that I've used this gun quite a bit. And again, the only reason why I haven't been using it much is because I have an impact. It's a really great gun. 25 meter accuracy is amazing. Twist rates maybe a little bit fast for long range shooting, but it's a fantastic gun. So let's see what we can do to the clay. Let's see what 28 foot-pounds can do. And we are now shooting 16 grain Predator polymags, which are expanding pellets. So you're definitely going to see a bigger wound channel, but you probably won't see as much penetration. It'll be quite interesting. Let's get to it. Let's put a little bipod on here. 28 foot-pounds, expanding pellet. Expect to see some interesting stuff here. Wow, okay. That was way higher than I expected. Obviously, I'm not zeroed for these pellets. I'm going to aim lower. See what we can do. There you go. Goodness me, that was hectic. Look at that. Massive, massive, massive entry hole. So let's cut this bad boy up and see what it did. So this is interesting. Despite the fact that this is more than double the muzzle energy of the 12 foot-pound Springer, you can see penetration is about the same. But look at the wound channel. That is massive, massive, massive in diameter compared to what the 12 foot-pound gun was doing. And that's because of these Predator polymags. So let's zoom in here. There's the tip of the polymag, and the pellet, I believe, is lodged right over there. Yep, there it is. And you can see it has opened up nicely there. Okay, next gun we have here is something that I actually reviewed very recently. You probably would have seen this in the past few weeks. My review of the FX Wildcat Mark II. This is honestly one of the nicest guns I've ever had the privilege of owning. It's everything you need in a bullpup. Maybe not quite as high on my list as the FX Impact, but it's right up there. It's a really, really, really nice gun. So I'll put the review down below, but let's get straight to it. We are shooting 18 grain JSB Jumbo Heavy Diablo, so staying with the JSB pellets, and we are shooting these at 910 feet per second, which equates to 33 foot-pounds. So again, it's just a few foot-pounds up from the previous gun, but it'll be interesting because we're shooting pellets now, well, Diablo round nose pellets now instead of the Predator polymag. So I have a feeling this is going to penetrate a lot, possibly even go straight through the block, but let's see. Should be interesting. There you go. Lovely. So this is really, really interesting. First, let's look at penetration. Okay, so that was the 12 foot-pound gun, and from here to here, that's the extra that this one penetrated from our first one. But in terms of penetration, that's really not much longer than what the 17 foot-pound gun was doing with a similar shaped pellet with its 16 grain JSB. So penetration, this one isn't that much better. It's maybe 1 or 2 centimeters more than its 17 foot-pounds. Where you see the difference though is here, the initial wound channel. This first 2 inches or so, you can see there's massive expansion there. well, expansion of the clay, not expansion of the pellet. The pellet's pretty much completely intact. But that's important because if you're shooting small game, if you compare a 17 foot-pound gun to a 33 foot-pound gun, that initial wound channel, which is going to be what counts on a pigeon or a dove or a ground squirrel, this is going to be it's going to make a big difference. And obviously you've got the external ballistic side of things, where at this velocity with heavier pellets, you're not going to have to adjust so much for pellet drop and wind. But that's something else. We're talking about terminal ballistics here. So that's a huge step up. Penetration's about the same as at 17 foot-pounds, but the initial wound channel is quite hectic. So that's a thumbs up. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for my favorite airgun of all time to come out of the case. The FX Impact. Probably one of the best airguns ever made. Yeah, I absolutely love this gun. And this year with the Smooth Twist X barrel, the 600mm Smooth Twist X barrel, set up for slugs, I've taken this thing to a whole new level, okay? So this is still 22 caliber, but now we're shooting slugs with a ballistic coefficient that's more than double what the JSB pellets of the same caliber can give you. At 41 foot-pounds, which is, 23 grain slug, 41 foot-pounds, it's just basically 900 feet per second. And again, this gun's pretty kitted out. I've got a Atlas bipod on, I've got a Huggett silencer on it, I've got a Nightforce SHV 4-14 first focal plane scope on it, and I would have had a side shot magazine, one of those large capacity ones, but I kind of stuffed mine up. I tried to make it a bit deeper so I can put the bigger slugs in it, and I stuffed it up. So the standard FX magazine will have to do today, but let's see what this gun can do. I'm expecting those slugs to expand a little bit, and then obviously with the extra muzzle energy, 41 foot-pounds as opposed to the previous 33, I'm expecting a lot of energy to be dumped. So yeah, let's get to it, let's take a shot and let's see what we can do. And then after that, we're going to use the same gun, FX Impact, same power settings and everything, but we're going to shoot some slightly heavier slugs, and we're going to show what the effect of having a little bit of extra weight at the same muzzle energy can do for you. So let's do that. This should be very interesting. It's the first time I'm actually shooting at clay with those slugs, so let's see what they can do. Ooh, that sounded good. Okay, let's go take a look. I'm hoping that they didn't veer off, but let's go see. Okay, you're going to want to see this. The penetration from these slugs at 40 foot-pounds is less than what the 12 foot-pound JSB was giving me, okay? So if you remember correctly, JSB was from my thumb to the end of my pinky, okay? Well, there's the slug. Don't know if you can see that. I'll dig it out. Here's the slug right over here. Okay, it's a bit of a mess right now, but basically it mushroomed out like crazy. Opened up to probably, I don't know, the size of a 9mm slug or 9mm pellet. Opened up really nicely. But look at that wound channel. So from a hunting perspective, shooting small game, this is exactly what you want to see, okay? That's what counts. Those first 3 inches are what count when you're hunting small game. And I mean, that wound channel, so far, that's the biggest that we've seen. That's bigger than the Predator Polymags, and that's certainly much bigger than the Diablo pellets. So one thing to note though is on an occasion where the slug does not open up, you may find that you get really good penetration, but you don't get much of a wound channel. I suppose it depends on what you're doing, but this is what I like to see. This expansion is fantastic. But let's go shoot those heavier slugs, those 28 grain slugs, so that's like 5 grains heavier, but at the same muzzle energy, and let's see what the results are. Right, so we're on to the 28 grain slugs now, and to be honest with you, I actually like these more than the 23 grain slugs. I don't know if you'll see that very well, but these have something called a rebated boat tail. I'll put an insert in here. Basically, a rebated boat tail helps a lot with your ballistic coefficient. It makes the projectile way more aerodynamic, and it reduces that strange turbulence that you get behind the projectile, which helps a lot to kind of raise its BC. But the rebated boat tail design gives you the accuracy of a flat base projectile, which is generally better than a boat tail projectile, but obviously keeps that BC. So these have a really high BC, higher than the 23 grains, and they hit with a little bit more power. So it's what you want for long range hunting. The only reason I haven't been using these much is because unfortunately they don't fit in the magazine. I mentioned I ruined my side shot magazine trying to adapt it to fit these. That didn't work out. So the 23 grains are the ones I'm using right now, but these are fantastic. We're shooting at 840 feet per second. So that's a 28 grain slug, 840 feet per second, 43 foot-pounds of energy. It should be good. Let's see what it does. That sounded solid. Okay, let's go take a look. Okay, so there you go, pretty much the same result. Massive initial wound chamber, massive expansion there, penetrated less than the 12 foot-pound pellet, and there it is, lodged over there, expanded wonderfully. Let's dig this out so you can see it better in the light. Expanded wonderfully, so I'm really happy with that. Okay, we're going to take things to another level right now. This is the most powerful air gun that I own at the moment. It's a 22 caliber, 80 foot-pound, semi-automatic air gun. Okay, 80 foot-pounds in a 22 caliber. Cuban K1. I've got an Optizan 6-24 first focal plane scope on it. I've got a Rudolph bipod on it. Sports match rings. That stuff doesn't really matter. It's the gun that we are most interested in right now. This gun is putting out, as I said, 80 foot-pounds, shooting 36 grain rebated boat tail slugs. And I actually made these slugs. I've got a swaging die made by Huben. I just made the Huben slug. So these are shooting at 1,000 feet per second. That's quite something. I'm expecting this to go straight through. It does not have a hollow point like those Nielsen slugs did. So it's not going to expand, it's not going to slow down. This thing is going to keep going. But anyway, let's put that theory to the test and see what it does. Okay, slug goes in. Ooh, that sounded hollow. This thing has a lot of power. Okay, well, I was wrong. That penetration is the same as the 12 foot-pound Springer. That is just amazing. Okay, so what happened here? We've got a round nose pellet that for some reason expanded. Let's see if we can get that into a position where you can see it there. For some reason, that round nose pellet expanded. My guess is that this material, the clay, there's enough solids in here to soften that lead. This is pure lead. I swaged these out of pure lead, so it's quite soft, and I think that initial impact was enough to just flatten the front of that slug and just open it up. So massive expansion here. You can see how the edge of the clay actually bulged out. You'll probably see that in the video of the clay being hit. But yeah, I'm just really amazed that it didn't go much deeper than that. And I'm quite amazed that such a round-nosed projectile with no hollow point can expand so much. So that's amazing. And obviously that's a Lothar Walther barrel there, so you can see the cuts on the side of the slug. You won't see that on the other slugs because I shot them out of a Smooth Twist X barrel. But yeah, that's quite interesting. Now for the big surprise. I've been waiting for this moment for the whole video, wanting to keep it a surprise. Here we go. We are going to be using the 22-250 Remington. What's that, you ask? That is a 50 grain 224 caliber Hornady VMAX being fired at 3,650 feet per second. That's a lot of muzzle energy, and it's going to be pretty destructive. Now, the reason I'm using the firearm here is simply to demonstrate the difference between firearms and air guns. There's a big step up, and a lot of people expect to get firearm performance out of air guns. You just can't, and there's a good reason that you can't. The pressure inside the chamber of this round, because you're burning powder, you can reach much higher pressures. Okay, so we are talking like 60,000 psi. Okay, 60,000 psi. the working pressure in most air guns is around 3000 psi, so that's 20 times less than the pressure behind the 50 grand VMAX, and that is why you can't get the same performance out of air guns and centerfire rifles, and that is why we'll never get the same performance. But the idea of this demonstration is just to have some fun, to show you what a 50 grand VMAX at 3650 feet per second can do, and to show you my beautiful varminting setup. Now, you will have seen this before if you watched my videos. This is a Ticker T3 varmint with a GRS stock. I've put on an SWFA 5-20 HD rifle scope on it. Again, we've got sports match rings. I've got an aim bolt knob here. I've got a TrueWorks silence on top. Wonderfully made silencer, not quite as quiet as a Sustac, but it looks so great. It looks wonderful, and it's Cerakoted, so it's not going to get scratched up very easily. And yeah, let's see what it can do. One thing to mention here as well is that an airgun is shooting 5.5mm projectiles, .217 caliber, whereas centerfire rifles in 22 caliber like 223 or 22-250 or 222, that's 224 diameter, so it's 5.6mm. So there is a difference there. You can't just put these in an air gun and expect them to shoot. It's not going to happen. But let's see what we're going to do, and hopefully I don't destroy this table because it actually belongs to my mother. She won't be too happy. Turn the magnification down to 5, turn the parallax down to 50, which is the minimum, put around in the chamber, and this is going to be very interesting. Goodness me. Oh my word, we had clay flying back all the way to here. That was explosive. Okay, let's go take a look. Okay, so result. Our camera is covered in clay. That's problem number one. Problem number, oh my word, there's even clay in the, that's a problem. Ooh, that's not good. Okay, we'll have to sort that out. Problem number two, my mother's table is broken, so I'm gonna have to buy her a new table. And just to clarify, this table was not hit by the bullet at all. Bullet never touched the table. What happened was when the bullet hit the clay, that energy that the bullet was carrying suddenly wasn't going in this direction anymore, it was going in all directions because the bullet split up. So the portion of that energy that traveled down into the table transferred quite a lot of energy into the table, and just the shock wave just snapped the wood. But look at that. That is what I call a result. Interestingly enough, penetration wasn't great, and that's exactly what I expected. When you've got such a small bullet traveling so fast, it basically just explodes on impact. So that's the whole point of a varminting bullet. I bought this rifle specifically for the purpose of varminting, and that's what we're seeing here. We're seeing complete and utter devastation in a very small area. So not much penetration, but if you look closely, you can see little bits of lead all over the place, and I can bet you, that right there is a part, the red thing, it's a piece of the ballistic tip. So that's what we expected to see from the 22-250. A little bit of a bummer about the table and the clay. I'm gonna have to clean the clay off my camera, probably clean clay off my rifles and my truck all the way back there. But I suppose that's the price to pay for science. I do not regret this, I would do it again. Here are all the recovered projectiles, and I think you'll find this quite interesting. The 14.3 grain JSB out the Arms TX200 is perfectly intact, aside from the grooves made by the Lothar Walther barrel. And I'm giving all of these a rating out of 5 for terminal performance, but obviously terminal performance is not everything, so I've given them a rating for precision and BC as well. The 16 grain JSB out of the FX Streamline is also completely intact. You can see just how little the smooth twist barrel actually damages the pellet. This pellet gets a precision rating of 5 stars. The terminal performance is 2 because although the penetration was good, the wound diameter was not huge. BC is also 2, that's a little better than the 14.3 grain, but as with all Diablo pellets, pretty poor in general. The Predator polymags out of the Daystate Wolverine get a 4 for precision. They are pretty good in that department, and a 5 for terminal performance. Although they didn't expand as large as the slugs, they do get an edge for their ability to reliably open up on all kinds of tissue and at low speeds. The only department where they suffer badly is in their BC, and this is the main reason I don't use these. The 18 grain JSB out of the Wildcat Mark II gets a 5 for precision once again. These never fail in that department. Terminal performance is still only 2 as they didn't expand at all, and BC is also not that great. These are generally chosen purely for their precision. 23 grain Nielsen slugs out of the Impact get a 4 for precision. They're not quite as good as the JSBs, but they make up for it in other departments. Terminal performance was great in this test, although I'm only giving them a 4 because there have been some occasions where they have not opened up when hunting. And they get a 4 for BC. They're much better than the pellets, but not quite as good as the heavier slugs. 28 grain Nielsens get the same points as the 23s, but they have the edge with a better BC. And lastly, the 36 grain Human slugs get a 4 for precision. Even at 1000 frames a second, I've shot quite a few sub-MOA groups at 100 meters. They get a 5 for terminal performance. Even if they do not expand, they are carrying so much momentum that they will do the job. And lastly, they get a 5 for BC. They just heads and tails ahead of the rest in this department. And the VMAX in the 22-50, I'm not even going to rate that. That's just in another league. That's a wrap on the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I had so much fun making it, probably more fun than I've ever had before making this kind of video, and I'm sure you would have had fun too. So thank you so much for watching. I do want to mention that my Patreon channel is still going, or Patreon account, so I'll put links down below if you want to support this channel, help me pay for my mother's table, stuff like that. Yeah, but I really had fun, and I will see you on the next video. Thanks for watching.